The courtroom fell silent and gasped. Those 8 words gave a chill to all present. The judge's gavel slamming behind her was like a clap of thunder, rattling the room and causing even the most veteran reporters to remain motionless. Every camera in the room turned instantly to Robyn Brown. In that moment, the woman who had spent more than a decade building a persona as the reserved, soothing, peacemaking wife of Kody Brown was now standing front and center, branded by the judge as a co-conspirator. The term hung in the room like a blow, almost too weighty to process. Fans who had been following the court case through live streams and court reports could hardly get their heads around it. Social media blew up in response. Fans who had watched Sister Wives for years instantly began commenting in all capital letters, "Co-Conspirator? What?" In minutes, hashtags using Robyn's name were trending globally. Some of the fans felt justified, claiming they had known all along this was coming since Robyn came into the family. Others were shocked, unable to square the sweet, tearful Robyn they had watched on TV cry with the woman who now stood accused of plotting in secret. This wasn't tabloid rumor. This was a court ruling, issued with the full authority of the court, and it was backed up by evidence that had left everyone gasping: an illicit tape. The tape had been rumored about for weeks, going around in private law circles, before it was ultimately allowed into evidence. Nobody had expected to have such a ruinous effect. When it was played, the courtroom remained quiet, except for the faint crackle of the tape. The voice on the tape was distinct, relaxed, and unmistakable. It was Robyn. She could be heard on the recording discussing Kody, the other wives, and even the family finances in detail. Not gossip, not frustration released in private, but a deliberate discussion setting out a strategy to steal Kody's allegiance and alienate the other wives, the court said. Audience members who had long regarded Robyn as the innocent wife who just wanted everyone to get along were suddenly faced with a much nastier reality. The discussion on the tape allegedly consisted of Robyn declaring that the only way the family could move forward was if Kody viewed the other wives as the issue. The words hit home like lightning. It sounded more like a plan to get her own spot by Kody's side and potentially push anyone else out of the way than a call to come together. The judge's voice when he delivered the verdict was crisp and intentional. "Robyn Brown," he declared, "from the evidence heard in this court, you were not a bystander. You were a willing participant. You were a co-conspirator." The second he uttered the words, the whole room halted. Robyn remained frozen, her skin white. Kody's jaw clamped down as he clutched her hand, shaken but brazen. Cameras popped, and every moment was recorded. For years, viewers had argued about whether Robyn had taken over the Brown family or was being unfairly faulted for choices Kody was making independently. Was she just his favorite wife, or was she subtly manipulating him all along? The secret tape added fuel to one side of the argument like never before. Individuals who had been watching the show since its inception began posting footage from past episodes, highlighting instances where Robyn seemed to be guiding Kody's decisions or quietly undermining the opinions of the other wives. Looking back, they explained, the signs were there, they just did not have evidence until today. The shock wasn't just reserved for the fans. Insiders in the courtroom reported you could sense the air being sucked out of the room when the verdict came through. Even the lawyers looked shocked at how far the judge took his remark. This wasn't simply a matter of family soap opera, it was about responsibility. For the first time, someone was actually saying what many had long suspected. Robyn wasn't a passive observer to the soap opera, she was fueling it. Journalists outside of the courthouse said the mood was electric. Strangers stood in groups, shouting, debating, others even cheering. It broke out on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, where fans were quick to post reaction videos just minutes after the news became public. Footage of Robyn weeping on previous seasons of Sister Wives was being cut together with the words "co-conspirator" in large red text. Content producers who had been tuning in to the family drama were referring to this as the biggest plot twist in Sister Wives history. But most surprising of all wasn't necessarily the tape itself, it was the enigma of how it ended up in the judge's possession. Some insiders say it was turned over by someone intimately connected with the family. Others say it was from a private detective whom they hired months before. Either, of course, raises a question now on everyone's mind. If this is on tape, what else is out there? The whole experience seemed unreal. Here was Robyn, the lady who had so frequently been seen on television weeping about needing family harmony, now at the heart of a narrative that had her as the mastermind behind the breakdown of the family. The tape converted her from victim in the eyes of many of the viewers to mastermind. Whether or not that impression is justified almost doesn't count. The harm has been caused. By the time Robyn and Kody walked out of the courthouse, flanked past journalists and blinding flashes, the story had changed utterly. The picture of Kody's last and favorite wife standing tall alongside him, her hand in his as she confronted charges of conspiracy, seared the public psyche. Fans were left with more questions than they had answers to, and a feeling that the Brown family saga had just reached its most sensational chapter yet. And somewhere in the world, whoever had leaked that tape was likely sitting back and watching the meltdown ensue with the satisfaction of knowing they had just turned everything around. The whole Sister Wives universe had been turned on its head in one dramatic courtroom instant, and everybody knew it was only the start. The courtroom was still abuzz when the clerk hit play on the tape. Everyone leaned forward, trying to catch each word. The tape crackled with static for the first few seconds, the soft hum of background noise, and then, as plain as day, came the voice of Robyn. It was measured, deliberate, almost too calculated, as if she had anticipated these words would mean something. "I just don't see another way," she said. "If Kody doesn't see them as the problem, nothing will change. He needs to understand what's at stake." The air thickened with each tick of the clock. This wasn't a wife complaining about family drama. This was a strategy session, a purposeful conversation. It wasn't angry. It wasn't emotional. It was calculating. In the background, there was another voice, softer, more difficult to recognize. Some people believed that it was one of her close friends. Others, one of her relatives. Whoever it was, she wasn't arguing with her. The discussion continued for close to 10 minutes, every word falling like a hammer. Robyn discussed the other wives, not only in frustration but even as how to have Kody's support. "He trusts me," she remarked at one point. "But we need to watch carefully how we approach it. If he thinks that it's his idea, he'll follow through." That one sentence created a wave of whispers in the courtroom. Individuals looked at each other, eyebrows shot up, mouths agape. This was no longer speculation on whether or not Robyn manipulated Kody. This was an insight into precisely how she manipulated him. As the tape went on, the topic turned to money. Robyn supposedly said that money would be better protected if Kody rearranged some assets and accounts. The other wives' lawyers contended that this was a clear move to take control, so that in the event the family collapsed, Robyn and her kids would be financially protected, while the rest were on their own. For most of the fans, this was the moment that the so-called family favorite was exposed. Internet commenters immediately started referring to the tape as Robyn's blueprint, claiming it gave away her whole game for holding her place as Kody's number one, emotionally, financially, and practically. The thought that this had been occurring in private for years left fans upset and betrayed. The scariest moment came close to the end of the tape. Robyn's voice became soft, like she was talking to herself, and she stated, "They'll blame me, but they'll never know the whole story." That one sentence set social media ablaze with speculations. What did she say by the whole story? Was she confessing there was something more behind the scenes that even the tape didn't reveal? When the tape finally ended, there was stillness, the sort of stillness that is a weight upon the room. The judge raised his face slowly, his own expression inscrutable, and then ordered a brief recess. The fact that the court broke had significance, as if the court itself needed a moment to make sense of what had just been said. Media members rushed outside the courthouse to obtain online updates. Fans following the live coverage were commenting on the stream in real time. Some reported experiencing goosebumps when listening to the tape. Others were outraged, arguing that it was evidence Robyn had been the mastermind behind the family's downfall from the start. Memes within minutes began making the rounds. Screenshots of Robyn crying throughout previous episodes, now with captions such as, "The mastermind revealed." Within, Kody sat rigidly, his face as hard as stone. He said nothing to anyone, looked at no one but Robyn, whose hand he clutched firmly. Friends of the case describe him as a man struggling to keep himself intact, caught between outrage at what was being said of his wife and the creeping recognition of what the tape could portend for their future. While the recess was on, the lawyers' teams clumped in their respective corners. The lawyer for Christine and Janelle was said to have been calm, near relieved, as if this tape was the new lead they had been hoping for. Robyn's lawyers, however, seemed anxious, snapping their fingers and talking in hushed tones. Some in the courtroom said Robyn's attorneys looked taken aback by how much importance the judge was placing on the recording. When court resumed, the judge asked the lawyers for an explanation of how the tape was recorded. This created another flurry of drama. Robyn's lawyers questioned whether the recording was lawfully acquired, according to those present. The other side argued that it was acceptable, claiming the individual who recorded the conversation was a party to the discussion and hence within their rights. The debate only increased the drama, with fans online already speculating about who might have recorded Robyn in the first place. Some speculated it was a relative, perhaps even someone within Robyn's inner circle. Others wondered if it was an old friend or ally turned bitter. The mystery only served to further the story's explosive status. The judge finally decided the tape was legitimate and would be kept on record as evidence. The ruling appeared to suck the little color left out of Robyn's face. She didn't say a word, didn't object, simply sat there, eyes blurring as if struggling not to cry. It was one of few occasions where the woman who was so frequently accused of being manipulative crying on the show really did appear shaken. Outside court, media organizations started taking statements from fans and legal analysts. The tape was described as devastating by experts, who said that it presented a portrait of someone who was not merely responding to a deteriorating family situation, but actually creating it. They noted how on the tape, Robyn's words were measured, calculated, not hot-headed or emotional. This wasn't venting, explained one expert on live television. This was planning. For fans of Sister Wives who had been watching the series for over a decade, this news was akin to pulling back the curtain on a long-running mystery that they had been discussing for years. Fans overflowed on Reddit forums, TikTok comments, and Facebook groups with their own speculations on how long this had been occurring, and how much of what they'd been watching on TLC had been scripted to cover up Robyn's reputation. Some of the fans sympathized, speculating that Robyn may have been trying to defend her children in a stressful, delicate situation. Others contended that this was evidence she had manipulated Kody into severing his relationships with the other wives, driving a wedge so deep that the family would never be able to recover. By the time the session was over for the day, the atmosphere surrounding the courthouse was nearly frantic. Not only were they witnessing a courtroom drama, but they were witnessing a 10-year family saga reach its most sensational turn yet. Journalists were assuming that the backlash of this tape would extend far beyond the courtroom. Executives for TLC were probably in an uproar behind the scenes, figuring out how they would deal with the controversy in upcoming episodes, or if they would revamp the show altogether to be all about this scandal. As Robyn and Kody finally emerged from the building, cameras snapped them hurrying along, heads bent, hands firmly clasped together. They both ignored the press. They both refused to smile. It was the look of a pair holding up against the storm, a storm that had just grown a whole lot larger. The courtroom was thick with tension, as all eyes awaited the return of the judge. Once the hidden tape had been heard and each word analyzed, it seemed like the entire room was holding its collective breath. When the judge finally came in, the room stood, then sat back down, and the silence was so dense that you could practically hear the distant creaking of wooden benches. Robyn sat rigid, her hands folded tightly in her lap, her face white but resolute. Kody leaned forward, telling her something in an undertone that only she could understand, and she nodded minutely. As the judge started to speak, his voice was firm and cutting, every word planned. "This court has heard the evidence," he told them. "We have listened to the recording, considered the testimony, and weighed the impact of these actions on the family involved." He paused, glancing briefly toward Robyn, then back at his notes. "It is the opinion of this court that the individual in question was not merely a bystander to the events that fractured this family. She was an active participant. She was a co-conspirator." The term hung in the air like a crack of thunder. Co-conspirator. Gasp after gasp, whispers circulated around the courtroom. Several individuals actually covered their mouths. Robyn's eyes popped open, but she did not cry yet. Kody blushed, his jaw clenched as he braced himself against the side of the table. To many watching, it seemed like he was about to jump to his wife's defense, but he sat there, glaring straight ahead. Outside the courtroom, the word spread in an instant. In minutes, Robyn Brown Co-Conspirator was trending on social media sites. Fans who had been tracking the trial were already splicing together scenes of Robyn's most tear-jerking moments on Sister Wives, adding the judge's testimony over them. The verdict wasn't just front-page news. It was a cultural phenomenon. Inside, the judge went on. He clarified that the tape had provided unmistakable proof of deliberate tampering in collaboration with a minimum of one other individual. This was not mere rumor or ranting about grievances. As per the judge, this was a concerted attempt to alter the dynamics of the Brown family relations. He explained that the court had witnessed enough patterns of conduct to reach the conclusion that Robyn had been actively involved in dismantling the family's unity, in a manner that was detrimental to the other wives. Robyn's lawyer rose and objected, protesting that Robyn's words were taken out of context. She said Robyn had been attempting to protect her children, that she was just a mother doing what any mother would do when a family begins to disintegrate. But the judge was unsympathetic. He reiterated that the intent behind the words was critical, and that the impact on the family was indubitable. Robyn only broke her silence, her words weak and cracking as she turned to speak to the court. "I never wanted this family to disintegrate," she explained, her fingers clenching the table edge. "Everything I did so that there would be peace. I wanted Kody to be happy. I wanted the children safe." Her words were charged, but the judge didn't flinch. He nodded tactfully but went on to emphasize that actions speak louder than intentions. The instant was dreamlike. Here was Robyn Brown, the wife who had so frequently been cast as victim, the one in the middle of the crossfire of a family that never quite came to accept her, now being informed by a court that she was one of the prime movers of its downfall. A few of the guests in the gallery were sympathetic, wiping at their eyes as Robyn talked. Some appeared content, even justified, as if they had been waiting years for this exact result. Kody then burst out, his voice crescendoing as he stood up for his wife. "This isn't fair," he exclaimed. "You're blaming all of this on her when I made the choices. If anyone was to blame, it's me." His voice echoed through the courtroom, but the judge respectfully stopped him and reminded him that the decision wasn't about placing blame upon one individual. It was about recognizing who was involved in the string of events which caused the family to implode. The gallery was abuzz now, the drama unfolding like on a TV show, except this was real, raw, and irretrievable. Court officers had to instruct individuals to remain silent while the judge concluded his statement. He directed that the conclusions be entered into the record, and recommended that any additional legal issues, such as custody and finances, would consider the new evidence. When the gavel came down for the final time, it felt like a door slamming shut on the past decade of the Browns' lives. Robyn stayed seated for a long moment, staring at the table, as if gathering herself before facing the waiting cameras outside. When she finally stood, she was flanked by Kody, who put a protective arm around her. Both of them left the courtroom hand in hand, not to the left or the right, not to respond to a single question yelled by reporters. Outside, the atmosphere was also chaotic. Fans were standing up with their phones, live streaming the couple's departure. Some cheered her on, urging Robyn to stay strong. Others jeered, calling her manipulative and accusing her of disuniting the family. The divided response perfectly captured the online debate, where half the fandom vilified her and the other half scapegoated her. Experts soon started to be seen on TV news hours after the verdict, interpreting what this ruling would mean. Family therapists offered their opinion, declaring the verdict symbolic. It acknowledged the other wives who had years ago declared they felt alone. Legal analysts stated the ruling might have implications for how property is divided and custody battles, particularly if the court now officially acknowledged that there was an element of collusion. Within the Brown family, according to sources, Christine was celebrating in private. She informed close friends that this was a moment of justice for all the years she had worked to try to warn Kody that Robyn was driving a wedge between him and the rest of them. Janelle, who has been outspoken about her disapproval of Robyn's influence, posted a cryptic message online that read, "Truth always comes out eventually." Fans immediately connected the dots, taking it as a direct reference to the day's events. Meri's reaction was perhaps the most striking. She posted a smiling selfie with the caption, "Peace feels good, no names, no context." But to her followers the meaning was crystal clear. By the close of business, media coverage had hit its fever pitch. People were looping clips of the judge uttering co-conspirator in endless rotation on news channels. Podcasts were cranking out special emergency shows, and Sister Wives fan sites were full of speculation regarding what this portended for the long-term future of the show. For Robyn, the incident might have forever altered her life. Her public persona, once so carefully cultivated as the introverted, tearful wife who yearned only for peace, was forever linked now to the adjective the judge had assigned. Fair or not, that word would attach itself to her, in news headlines, on social media, and in viewers' minds, long after the courtroom was empty and the cameras were dark. The courthouse doors had just closed on Kody and Robyn when the domino effect started. News of the judge's ruling spread faster than wildfire. Phones started buzzing. Screens went off, and within minutes the Brown family name was plastered on every trending feed. But while the world beyond was still trying to wrap its head around the shock, within the family itself, reactions were very personal and brutally frank. Christine was said to be the first to respond. Those who were close to her indicated that she was at home when she heard the news, and with her first reaction, there was just one word. Finally, Christine had complained for years about how she perceived Robyn had changed the family dynamic and taken Kody's attention away from the other wives. For Christine, this wasn't merely a court decision. It was vindication, a public confirmation of what she'd been insisting upon all along. Soon after, Christine posted a picture of herself smiling very wide and relieved looking on Instagram, captioned with only 3 words. "Truth is freeing." Her fans overwhelmed her comments section with messages of support, referring to her as the real MVP of the Brown family and thanking her for holding firm over the years. A victory lap without ever speaking a word about Robyn herself. Janelle's response was subtler but equally impactful. Rather than posting live or making an extended post, she simply posted a mysterious quote to her Instagram story. "When the dust settles, you'll see who was with you and who was against you." The timing was impossible to miss. Fans were quick to share screenshots of her post, with some referring to it as the mic drop moment of the day. Meri's response, however, was the one that truly set social media ablaze. Hours after the verdict, she posted a selfie, her hair perfectly styled, her smile radiant, and the caption, "Peace feels good." No tags, no explanation, just a confident, almost serene statement. Fans interpreted it as Meri finally feeling vindicated after years of emotional distance from Kody and the other wives. Others referred to it as her revenge glow-up, noting she had never looked more joyful. Kody's response was far from tranquil. However, those who watched outside the courthouse said he appeared tense and visibly irate. His protective nature over Robyn was undeniable. Upon exiting, he wrapped one arm around her, fending off cameras and reporters with the other. Upon reaching their vehicle, sources indicate that Kody's irritation erupted. He supposedly informed the people around him that the judge's ruling was biased, and that the whole process was orchestrated to present Robyn as the bad guy. Kody and Robyn, according to reports, had a long tearful talk back at home. Robyn supposedly was heartbroken, not only by the verdict, but by how it was transpiring in public. As reported by insiders, she was embarrassed that such a personal moment, the surreptitious tape, had been made public. She feels betrayed, an insider divulged. She trusted individuals in her inner circle, and now she is forced to question who taped her and why. The kids were not above it either. Older children such as Aspen and Gwenlyn had something to say on social media, with Gwenlyn sharing her own cryptic response. "Kinda saw that coming TBH." Her matter-of-fact attitude hit the headlines, as fans speculated whether she had known all along about Robyn's sway. Within hours, fan pages were dissecting every reaction, posting side-by-side screenshots of Christine, Janelle, and Meri's responses, calling it the triple strike. Some fans cheered, saying this was karmic justice for years of tension. Others worried about the children, pointing out that the public spectacle might make it harder for the family to heal. Even TLC couldn't avoid the drama. Reportedly, anonymous crew members informed entertainment media that the producers were racing to determine how to handle the verdict in the new season. Some proposed that the network could even have a whole episode on the trial, making it a tell-all moment that would end up being one of the highest-rated episodes in the history of Sister Wives. But not all were partying. But there were still others who defended Robyn, claiming that she was unfairly scapegoated due to being the legal wife of Kody. "She's always been the scapegoat," one Twitter user wrote. "She's the only person who legally married Kody, so of course they are going to blame her for everything. It's tragic." This ignited a full-blown war in the comment section, with thousands of individuals arguing whether Robyn was the victim or a manipulative force. Robyn herself remained quiet on social media. No tweets, no statements, nothing. To others, that silence rang louder than words. "She's not defending herself because she can't," one of her fans theorized. Others thought that she was remaining silent because she was devastated and did not want to add fuel to the fire. Behind the scenes, sources tell us that Robyn's mental state was precarious. She was said to be spending all her time with Kody and her children, attempting to protect them from the commotion online. "She's scared of how this is going to go down for the children," the source claimed. "They're old enough to read the headlines, read the comments. She thinks they're all being judged right along with her." And then there were the other wives, Christine and Janelle in particular, who were now empowered by the verdict. Sources close to them confirmed that they were more resolute than ever to start their lives anew, free from Kody and Robyn. Christine, who had already been remarried, was spotted smiling more than ever, as if a burden had been removed from her shoulders. Janelle also was said to be weighing new options, such as writing a book about her plural marriage. Fans guessed that if she did write it, the book would virtually certainly contain fresh news about her tense relationship with Robyn and Kody. Meri, always the wild card, had reportedly been seeking business opportunities beyond the Sister Wives franchise, possibly writing her new free woman persona. The verdict, if anything, appeared to pump her up, and her posts online were more cheerful in the ensuing days. The fallout wasn't emotional alone. It was strategic. Lawyers started insinuating that the verdict could pave the way for reconsidering property settlements and financial arrangements. If the court actually ruled Robyn a co-conspirator, it could alter how certain assets were dealt with, which would have severe fiscal implications for Kody and Robyn. The fans were already wondering if this would mean that the family's Flagstaff property might be reassigned, or if some of the shared accounts might have to be re-examined. Some opined it could even impact TLC's contracts with the family, as the dynamics of the show had now critically changed. By dusk, it was evident that this wasn't merely a moment, it was a turning point. The Brown family was irreparably altered. What began as an undercover tape evolved into a legal earthquake that disturbed every member of the family. Relationships were torn apart deeper than ever before. Some ties may never be mended. And when the sun went down that evening, the world was waiting for the next step. Would Robyn ever say anything? Would Kody push back in public? Would Christine, Janelle, and Meri sit with the media for a tell-all exclusive, together for the first time in years? The drama was not over yet, but one thing was certain: the aftermath had made this tale more riveting than ever. By the evening of the verdict day, the Brown family drama had already moved into a new chapter. What went down in that courtroom wasn't a headline grabber. It was an explosive that opened up years of secrets, festering tensions, and buried grudges. Everyone, viewers, relatives, even TLC producers, knew that everything would never be the same again. The only question on everyone's mind was, what now? For Kody and Robyn, the future is now a fight on several fronts. Sources close to the pair indicate that Kody is outraged and more committed than ever to exonerating Robyn's reputation. Some insiders are convinced he's already meeting with new lawyers, looking to file an appeal or at least contest the wording of the verdict that decried her as a co-conspirator. He doesn't want to merely win, one source said. He wants to rewrite history. He wants to demonstrate that Robyn is not the villain the world is portraying her to be. Even if Kody does battle back in court, however, the harm to their public reputation is certain. Overnight, Robyn went from being perceived as the favorite wife to becoming the mastermind who broke up the family. TikTok is awash with videos dissecting her every tearful confession, her every sister wives scene in which she appeared to sway Kody's opinion. Content creators are labeling it Robyn's redemption or downfall arc, and the fans are taking sides in a way that has never happened before. The stakes are huge for TLC. Sister Wives is the network's biggest reality hit, but now it's not only entertainment but a cultural phenomenon under scrutiny. Whispers are buzzing that producers already are negotiating to use an entire season on the court case, presenting not only the verdict but the aftermath, the reaction of the family, and possibly even sit-down interviews with the wives themselves. Viewers are crying out for a tell-all segment where Robyn is confronted about the tape in front of everyone. If that does happen, it might be the most viewed episode of the series ever. Fans who tuned out years ago are suddenly sitting up and taking notice, wondering what Robyn will do. Will she lash out, defending herself and Kody, or will she crumble and show a more submissive side to herself than viewers have ever witnessed? Christine, Janelle, and Meri appear to be embracing their independence. The friends of Christine close to her confirm that she feels liberated, vindicated, and ready to open up more about her story. Some insiders posit that she's already been sought out for solo endeavors, possibly even having a spin-off of the show, where she is able to concentrate on her life post-Kody, her new marriage, and her children. Janelle has been said to be mulling a memoir, and with this decision now out, a book deal may become priceless. What the future holds for Meri is the most compelling. Now that she has been estranged from the rest of the family for years, she is free to reboot entirely. Her supporters already refer to her as an inspiration, and her enigmatic, assertive posts have made her a role model of strength for women who have exited toxic relationships. It would not be unexpected if she monetized her post-Brown existence into a business empire, motivational speaking, lifestyle coaching, or even a memoir. But the legal fallout from the verdict is where things get serious. Family assets, business ventures, and even TLC contracts might all be affected. If Robyn is legally regarded as a co-conspirator, that would have implications for future negotiations over how profits from the show are shared. There's even speculation that several of the other wives might take advantage of this ruling to negotiate new financial agreements with Kody, shrinking the amount of authority he and Robyn have over the shared assets of the family. And then there is the emotional cost. The kids are growing up in a world where their family soap opera is common knowledge. The older kids are posting on social media, but the younger ones are seeing it all go down, reading the posts, reading the comments, watching their mother be called a manipulator by millions of people they don't even know. How that impacts them emotionally is anyone's guess. The Brown family now stands at a crossroads. Will this verdict be the thing that finally breaks them apart for good, turning each member into a separate storyline? Or will it somehow force them to confront everything that's been festering for over a decade, giving them a chance, however slim, to heal? Fans are torn. Some are labeling this poetic justice, the moment they've been waiting for since Christine walked out and raised the alarm about Kody's favoritism. Others call this a tragedy, that regardless of whatever Robyn has said or done, this extent of public humiliation will leave scars that might never heal. But here's one thing for sure, this is hardly over. The verdict might have been the peak, but the aftermath is where things really get interesting. Every step Kody and Robyn take will be analyzed. Every Instagram post from Christine, Janelle, or Meri will be read as a veiled insult or a triumph lap. Every choice will fuel a storyline that viewers are seeing unfold in real time. For a family that once taught unity, love, and faith, this is a moment of accountability. The judge's words will haunt Robyn for the years to come. Whether she rises above them, restores her image, and finds her place again in the hearts of the public, or whether she doubles down, embracing her alignment with Kody and becoming the queen of a much diminished, fractured kingdom, will be the next installment of the Sister Wives drama. And the fans will be there for every bit of it, reacting, arguing, taking sides, and holding their breaths for the next big twist. Because if this verdict taught us anything, it's that the Brown family drama is far from over. If anything, it's only just begun.